Red Cathedral, MicroMacro Crime City, and Control Ultimate Edition. This is Staying In.
I've bought an aftermarket inkjet. Did you know these existed?
Aftermarket? What do you mean?
So it's like an ink cartridge
for a printer that is no longer produced.
Aftermarket, black market. What are you buying? What are you printing?
It's a remanufactured inkjet cartridge, right? So it's for my Canon printer, but it's made by Tesco. But it's not really made by Tesco because the cartridge itself is made by Canon. So they just basically just refill it.
Yeah, I've done that.
You've done that?
Not by hand. Yeah,
like cut open a Bic.
Yeah. Do you know? It takes me back. Do you remember? Did you go to a school where you had to have like? I mean, I know Pete did. I'm asking Dan and Sam this now. Did you go to a school where you had to have fountain pens with like ink cartridges and stuff?
Yeah, we didn't have to, but I was one of those precocious kids that went through a period where my affectation was for a term.
No. Yeah, do you know what? That absolutely lines up. It was either going to be that or a hat, wasn't it?
Yeah. I had everything, like the pencil case filled with those little, those tiny little blue ink cartridges, like almost like bullet sized.
Yeah, that's it.
And you could get like a pack of 20 for a couple of quid down at Tesco or whatever, and they always leaked. And obviously I never had good enough money for like a proper fountain pen, so it was always like really shoddy and just leaked everywhere. But yeah, so I didn't have to.
I had a fountain pen. It was an Aston Villa fountain pen, and it was a Parker pen. So it was a top of the range fountain pen. But like Sam, I used to buy the cheap little cartridges. But for any fountain pen aficionados out there, the Parker pens had larger cartridges. They had the big ones. So what I used to do is when my cartridge ran out, I'd get the little ones. I kind of open it at the top, and I just slowly drip the ink from the small cartridge into the big cartridge. So I could continue to use my ever so fancy Aston Villa Parker pen. But only using, but having to buy, like, as you say, like £2 for 20 ink cartridges, rather than spending £5 on 5.
Insert joke here about Aston Villa's transfer.
Yeah, I was about to say,
transfer deadline target market dealings or something.
I mean, we all know that Pete just took in a swan and occasionally just pluck a feather off it.
Do you remember fun faxes?
Yes, I had one of those, yes.
Yeah. Do you mean filofaxes?
No. It was by Filofax.
Oh, right, yeah.
But they were called fun faxes.
Yes, I do.
And you bought these little packets that you put into your little ring binder.
That's it, yeah.
And you could be a spy.
I had that one, the brown spy one. Yeah.
The brown spy one, that was great. There was one, I think there was some language ones and some maths ones and some science ones.
My brain is kind of firing off things, but I can't quite put my finger on.
As soon as you see the front cover of it, Dan, you'll be like, oh, I remember this.
Ah, yes, there it is. There's that memory landed.
I was just reminded of fun faxes the other day, and I thought, that's a thing that I just don't think that product can ever exist ever again. Like, not only are filofaxes not really a thing anymore, but also, like, because, a PDA, I mean, well, it's not even a PDA, is it? It's a phone now, right? Like, so the idea of, but also, like, the idea of, like, collecting some more paper things to make a not quite as good book. Oh, man. I just thought they were. I remember. I was sort of like sat there on my couch the other day, and then suddenly I sort of like jerked up and went, "Fun faxes, they were great. They were really good."
Something made me think of my childhood the other day. As a child, I was obsessed with, to some degree, with Where's Wally books.
Yeah.
And I don't know quite what it is. It's the idea that the answer is in front of you. And you've probably seen it without looking at it, that difference between seeing and looking something. And it's about, and often if there's a group of you, like my brother and my sister, we're kind of with our fingers tracing across the page, racing each other to be the first person to find Wally, and then his dog, which I think was called Woof, It's Where's Waldo in America, and you'd see like a dog's tail sticking out, and Wolf was always harder to find.
Yeah.
But I bought a game the other day called MicroMacro Crime City from Pegasus Spiele, designed by Johannes Sitch, and it is basically Where's Wally, but on a larger and a little bit more grown-up scale.
Yeah.
So it's basically, for me, it captures that moment where at the end of a crime drama, maybe the end of an episode, say, for example, the police detective has a photo in front of them, and they've had that photo or this image from the beginning, but they've not properly looked at it. And the camera zooms in on the picture, and then it zooms in on the face of the detective, and they suddenly realise, oh my word,
it was him.
It was them. It was here all the time in front of us. Oh my gosh. And that sensation for an audience going, oh my word, yeah, of course. How did we miss that? This game, MicroMacro Crime City, has this in spades. So you've got this basically where you've got this large drawing. It feels like you're unraveling a giant map. It's nearly 1 meter by 1 meter. It's huge on paper, and it's a line drawing of what looks to be like an aerial photograph of a city, but it's a drawing, and it's drawn almost like a Where's Wally picture. It's very cute and kind of childlike, with these little animals, these anthropomorphized animals and such. And it's this aerial photo of Crime City. But if you look a bit closer, it looks really innocent and sweet on the surface. But when you look really close, this is a city that is just riddled with crime. These cute creatures, there's people being mugged in alleyways. There's meals that are just being poisoned, and you don't know why.
Yeah.
Hits are being organised. Assassinations taking place. People spying on each other.
You'll just find like dead bodies like on the ground.
What?
Mm-hmm.
And as players, you take on the role of a detective, and you solve a series of cases at different difficulty levels. They each have like a star rating, and each case is like a small deck of cards that go in these lovely little paper envelopes. And to start off, you're thinking, oh, these envelopes are a bit thin, a bit flimsy, feel a bit cheap. But actually, it's so you don't have to get the cards out to know what the mission is, because they're thin enough that you can see through the difficulty of it, which is a really nice touch. And what you do is that you flip the card, you go to the first card, and a crime is being committed. You find the crime on the page. You're all there as a group going, oh, okay, cool, here. Point to it. And then it asks you a series of questions where you're trying to work out, it could be who did this? Who is this person? Where have they come from? When were they killed? Or when was this stolen? And you're backtracking through the city. And what's really cool is that at points, some people will just run to the other end of the table, and you're kind of like the Channel Tunnel, meet in the middle. Oh, hang on, I found someone suspicious here. I found them here. Okay, I've got them here. Let's try and meet in the middle and retrace their steps. A bit like, in the Arkham games, when Batman just looks at a crime scene, and then with his whizzy tech and his augmented reality, he's just able to tell where the trajectory of the bullet comes from. You don't need any tech. It's just you with this little magnifying glass that comes with it. And you can literally, you'll see a character pointing, and you can literally just follow it across the page. And it's such a great feeling. And every card you flip is like that. And sometimes you get ahead of the cards. Other times you're having to go back on yourself. And it's really good. And I was playing it, and I've played it with you, Sam, I played it with Lisa. And I was thinking, when I first bought it, I ummed because I was worrying about the fact of, well, once you've solved all 16 cases, well, am I ever going to go back to it? And the answer is yes. Because the joy of this game is not just in who committed the crime, how was the crime done. Like, I know I've read a lot of Agatha Christie books, I've read a lot of murder mystery stories. The reason I go back to them is not because I've forgotten the plot. The reason I go back to them is because actually the whole point about this game is not just saying, well, I know who did it. It's saying, well, okay, where? You go, oh gosh, I can't remember, because there is you've actually walked past crimes that will appear in later cases that you hadn't even clocked, because it is just such a beautifully densely drawn picture. Secondly, this is one of the very few games where you can actually start playing the game before you've even known the box. There's actually a case on the front of the box for you to solve. And I did an unboxing for this for our Instagram page. It talks about this. Second, Sam, I had a little look at the rules today, and I love this.
Oh, we've been playing it wrong, haven't we?
No, we haven't been playing it wrong. Yeah, we played the wrong side of the map. We were playing it on uber hard.
It's just white.
Yeah. It says as a little suggestion, once you've finished all the missions, why not put it on your wall as a poster? Here's 4 other puzzles for you to solve for guests when they come round. And you can even go online on the website. There's additional puzzles and additional things hidden in this map that aren't in the base game. And we were saying this, that there's probably tons of expansions, and it's really weird. There's probably expansions that you've already got in front of you. You just haven't got the cards to solve those cases.
Yeah.
And it's unlike anything I own in terms of a board game experience. It says 1 to 4 players. That's really depending on how many people you're happy to have round your table.
Not to get pedantic, because clearly there's stop it, Dan. Clearly there's clearly you're having fun with it, and that is the important thing, right? Like it sounds fantastic, like genuinely does sound fantastic. But I guess the question for me is like, this sounds more. I don't know why the board game community has kind of picked this up when it feels a little bit more like a puzzle rather than like a board game in that way.
For me, it kind of is the crystallized, the undiluted brilliance of playing like a Cosmos escape game,
right, in
basically a board game, because when you have those moments when you're playing one of those exit games from Cosmos or any of the exit games, you have those moments of like group realization, but most of it is kind of individual. Oh, I've cracked it. Yeah. Oh, how did you do that? Right. Oh yeah, well I did this. Oh, it doesn't really matter. Let's just move on. We're against the clock. Whereas MicroMacro crystallizes that experience, and suddenly none of it is really feels that individualized or singular. You're all able to share in the experience equally. Exit tends to be a lot more disparate. MicroMacro is all interweaved, and you're all in the same sort of web and meshed together. So it means that when you're playing it, it feels a lot more like a cohesive and combined experience. I always look at an exit game and go, oh, I'd love to play that on my own one day. Whereas I look at MicroMacro and go, actually, no, I don't want to play it on my own. I want to be like with a group, like a gang of detectives. It's such a brilliant excuse to get a few people round to actually just to look at this thing and enjoy this thing together. And Kris brought it round to play, and like me and him were playing it, and like sort of my wife sidled over and like, you're gonna love this. And then I went up to go and put our son to bed, came down, and like Kris and my wife were just like, oh, we've solved another 2 cases. And I was genuinely like, oh. And second of all, I was just like, yeah, this game is right. Like, they just couldn't, we had to pull ourselves away from it because it's so like pleasingly addictive. It's great.
Yeah. I was just about to kind of look at that. I mean, without being too reductive, it strikes me as kind of taking those best elements from a Where's Wally and a Sherlock Holmes consulting detective, and kind of mashing them together to create something new that's more lighthearted. Isn't perhaps challenging is the wrong word, because I think there will obviously be a challenge there, but the challenge is very different to something like a Sherlock Holmes. That visual component, by the sounds of it, makes it much more accessible across the board, and in turn sounds more fun. I have lots of fun with Consulting Detective, but a lot of the time it can also be quite kind of tough to kind of get through, especially if you can't figure out where it's going. And then obviously you get to the end and you realise that you're actually pretty stupid and you should have done it in half the time.
Yeah. I think what MicroMacro does that makes it a lot more accessible and makes it a lot more snappier is the cards and the prompts are really good. Like at its detriment, MicroMacro, the cases that I've played with it anyway, they do sort of lean into tropes of the genre quite a lot. So there was one where it was a rich guy had died, and it's just like, who killed him? And it was the wife, and it was like the sort of like traditional sort of blonde hair bimbo wife, and it's like, all right, well, fair enough. I guess that's not fun. But then you open up the next prompt, and it's just like, how did they do it? Where did they get X, Y, and Z from? what did they do after he was killed? Like, how did they hide the body? X, Y, and Z. Just at the right time, it gives you another extra sort of like, yeah, but how do they do that? And where did they go after they did that? And you're just like, oh, right, now I'm in. Like, I found out how he died and how they killed him, but now I want to know more. And you sort of like start like digging and digging and digging further and further into the city to find out its secrets. I joined an exclusive club recently.
All right.
It took a little bit of effort to get into. There were a couple of early morning starts, being woken up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Masons.
That's what I was thinking.
Illuminati.
Not the Illuminati. I wish.
Oh, me too. Wouldn't that be fun?
That'd be
like,
great.
oh, you exist. Awesome. Like,
now give me some of that money.
Yeah.
No, the exclusive club that I joined and put quite a lot of effort into joining is the PlayStation 5 club.
Ooh. You did put a lot of effort into that. Much more than I did.
That's probably harder to get into than the Masons, I would imagine, at this point.
Yeah.
What's a handshake like?
Oh, bloody hell.
Good haptic feedback?
Jesus Christ.
Is that the only Masons PlayStation joke on the internet? I think it might be. Surely it must be.
It'll only be on the internet if Sam keeps this in the edit.
It's staying in now. Yeah, so for quite a long time I thought that I'd just wait until I could go into a shop, or I could just be browsing around one day and go, you know what, today's the day. I'll buy a PlayStation 5 and pick one up off the shelf, virtual or otherwise, take it to the assistant at the desk and buy it. But it slowly dawned on me that that's probably not going to happen for about another year or so. So I kind of gritted my teeth and decided to, once again, a year on from doing this for the Ring Fit Adventure, nearly exactly a year since doing this for the Ring Fit Adventure, sign up for, Hot Stock Informer and Stock Check and, oh my goodness, it's too hot stock to handle, all those kind of websites. Are you being stocked? And so I was getting like alerts at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning to like go onto Argos and like go and get PS5s, and I've got the edge because I've got a 6-month-old son, so I'm like, I'm awake anyway. Everyone was like, and you'd read on the forum like, I've been up since 5 o'clock waiting for the Argos drop that never came, and I was like, I was up anyway. And then one day, and it does it in a really obnoxious way. If you've got like the browser extension open, it literally blares a siren at you whenever stock drops.
I've done that.
And then eventually it happened, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is real. People are getting them." And then that feeling in your stomach, when you've got to buy like concert tickets and you've got 20 seconds left and you can't put in and you've got to put your credit card details in. And like,
I hate that feeling.
So that happened, and I was like, refreshing, in basket, out of basket, in basket, out of basket. Sorry, Amazon isn't working at the moment. I don't know what you're trying to do. So I just thought I'll just try it on my phone, and 3 taps later, it was mine. It was
Wow.
really, really odd. It was just like there's something to do with, because it was in my wish list, and because I bought it from my wish list, that it was just like must have like skipped a couple of steps ahead, or I don't know. Anyway, and like I was like, oh my god, I've got one. I've got one. It was really weird, and like
you have the white whale.
Yeah, and it was just like I didn't unsubscribe from any of the Stock Informer stuff until it arrived.
Yeah,
and it was quite dramatic how it arrived. Like, Amazon gave me a code that I had to read out to the driver when they arrived at my house. Yeah, I know.
What?
Like,
Why?
I got an email that day, and it was like, please wait for your personalized code to accept this expensive item. So I don't know whether it's PS5 specific or because it was like a plus £400 pricey purchase, but it felt really exclusive. Like, this guy turns up at my doorstep and was like, have you got a code for me? I was like, I do. And he was like, all right. What is it?
Oh.
I'm busy.
Yeah. This is a job, mate.
It's like a John le Carré novel.
Yeah.
I know, like I was just enjoying the clandestine nature of it, and he was just like, "Can you hurry up, please?" Like,
Particularly if it was the same code for everyone. I'd love that.
yeah, exactly. And then it's here. Then it's been in my life, and then I very quickly got rid of my PS4 because I don't need that anymore. And yeah, my wife wasn't impressed.
It's big.
But mainly by the size. I think my mother-in-law summed it up best, where she described it as a tribute to an 80s console.
Oh, that is a backhanded compliment.
No, yeah. But, you know, Kris has seen it now as well. And
yeah, I saw it from my flat, actually.
I mean, personally, I don't care, because when it's on or when you're watching TV, you're not looking at it.
Yeah.
So personally, it could, it could be any size or shape, really. And I mean, yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty awesome. I mean, there's not many games on it. Other than Astro's Playroom, I've not played anything on it yet that's like was built for the PS5. So I'm really itching to play something like Returnal or Ratchet and Clank. You know, something will only be coming out on the PlayStation 5. Because at the moment, like, yeah, fair enough, there are some graphical leaps with most stuff, but I was never really fussed about that anyway. But like for me, the actual user experience of using the PS5 is just phenomenal. Like, it's such a leap up from any other console that I've used before. Like, it boots up in seconds. Like, I sent you guys a video today of like I was in the game of Spider-Man Miles Morales in 23 seconds.
That is genuinely amazing. And that's from like cold boot.
That's cold. That's from cold and from disk as well. So not even like complete sort of SSD install.
Yeah.
And every single part of it is designed to help you stay in the game. And I remember this being a thing that Sony were going on about beforehand, before the PS5 was released. And it's only since playing it that I've really understood like how useful it is. So for example, in things like Astro's Playroom, you can double tap the Sony PlayStation button, and it will give you hints. It will offer you hints and help you find things to help you achieve trophies that you might be going for. So in Astro's Playroom, there are these hidden objects, these hidden puzzle pieces you have to find. And if you're struggling to find one, you double press the button and it plays a little video, and it'll show Astro like walking through the level and like going towards the area where the puzzle piece is, but not exactly going to like the destination. So it's just like really useful for me, where I'm just like, I want to find all the pieces, but I don't really want to spend lots of time like wandering around trying to get frustrated and looking for them.
Yeah.
And Miles Morales is something quite similar, but when you double tap the PS button in there, it brings up a little menu which shows you like a couple of like missions that you could do, along with the time it will take to complete that mission.
That is beautiful. Yeah. Like this to me is kind of this shifting point at the moment with games, where I definitely felt like in the PS4 era and sort of a big chunk of the PS3 era as well, that games were getting to the point where, like, the last Assassin's Creed that I played, the Odyssey, is like 75 hours. Like on PS3 it was 25, and I thought that was long. And like this constant push for more and more and more. And while having long games is great, and we shouldn't just have short games, we shouldn't just have long games, whatever it is, I understand like the value proposition of having a 75-hour long game. As somebody who has a job and other responsibilities, something where I can press a button and it says, if you only got 20 minutes left, go and do this. That's progress.
Or it's like, you're heading for this trophy. Here's a clue of how to get there. Because
I basically wrote off most basically going trophy hunting with PS4, because it was like, well, I haven't got the time that I had when I was playing on PS3. Like the actual difficulty of finding some of those things, it's just going to be me going to GameFAQs and looking at basically a map where I can find the next 300 feathers or whatever it is that I need to go and find. Whereas with this, it just sounds like this feels like the inflex point where I think Sony and Microsoft now are realizing that their audience is so wide now in terms of age demographics that they have to cater to an audience that maybe has a couple of hours in an evening every other evening, rather than like, oh, you're going to spend like 8 hours on this in a go, right? Like it's not that anymore. It feels a lot more tailored towards like keeping you in, if because I think a lot of like churning away from games. I think we talked about this on a previous episode where we talked about like the number of people who literally don't have the you've completed level 1 trophy on on stuff, right? Like the fact that is that's so bad that like people just like buy the games, play them for 2 minutes and go, nah. Like keeping people in the games, but also giving people less reasons to stop playing. Like, well, I don't know where the next save point is, was always the one that really got me with RPGs. I was always like, well, I don't know where the next save point is, so there's no point because, so I'm just going to stop playing now. Anything that kind of stops you from doing that, I think is really great. And there's a bunch of ways to do it. And it sounds like Sony's doing some amazing stuff with that.
So like, doing anything like adjusting like mic settings or sound settings are all done pretty much like in game. The Spotify integration, which I use quite a lot, whether it's like listening to podcasts while I'm playing games or just listening to an alternative soundtrack, is a lot more seamless than it was in PlayStation 4. And it's that seamless world that it puts you in. Like there's little things like the PlayStation Store now just works.
Oh, thank God they finally did it!
Oh my word!
Like you'd go to like claim your PS Plus games for the month, and it would just be like, well, I'm sitting here. Yeah.
I've got to load up the store. Now I've got to load up the PlayStation section. I've got to load up the game. I've got to buy it. Now it's just all on your home screen.
I've come close to buying so many games because I've not realised that the store is actually it's always there, it's always loaded. You just go into the store and it's just like, this is the store. You're not having to press a button to go into an app to go into the store. Like, it's just there.
This isn't just an advert.
And I've been traversing the store quite a lot because I've been trying to work out how to play Control Ultimate Edition on my PS5 because it's like, it's been like, that game specifically has been...
This story just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So for a bit of background for people who didn't keep up with like the whole Control controversy, and obviously I'll let you take over from the after this, but basically Control initially, they said, okay, here's this Ultimate Edition. And they said, oh, you're going to get PS5, you're going to get the PS5 version if you have Ultimate Edition. And then people with the original Control... Because Ultimate Edition is basically 2 additional pieces of DLC.
And that's it.
And that's it. The people who had the original Control, like, oh, cool, so do we just get the original version of Control but as a PS5 version? And between Remedy and 505 Games, which is the publisher, they were like, nah. So and then literally, I think 2 weeks later... People who owned PS5s found out that they then owned, but only the original version of Control, found out they owned some weird PS5 version of original Control, and then like that was then suddenly taken away, and like something like the account like tweeted about like, oh no, that was just some mistake. It's like, what is going on? So now. Basically, so then enter Sam with his new PlayStation 5.
Yeah, so this has been like kind of, my experience is generally like how PlayStation 4 games that I've got and how they've sort of been upgraded to PS5 stuff. And for most of it, it's been pretty seamless. Like I got Yakuza Like a Dragon, and that was seamless. Miles Morales was seamless, nothing happened, but Control has been an absolute headache and a nightmare. So after this was announced, they then announced that Control Ultimate Edition would be available for free on PS Plus. So I was like, brilliant, love the game, love a chance to play it again, possibly download. Cut to getting my PS5. Oh, I remember purchasing Control Ultimate Edition for PS Plus. So I'll go and download that and play it on. Oh no! If I wanted it on my PS5, I had to go to the PS Store and put this specific PS5 version of the Ultimate Edition of Control in my basket and purchase that. So I didn't have it. So I was like, oh, all right, okay. All right, but Control Ultimate Edition on PS5 is currently on sale for 19 quid.
19 quid for 2 bits of chunky DLC? Not bad.
Yeah, and I was like, my game of the year 2019. All right then.
I've come this far.
Yeah, I might as well. There's not much stuff to play on here, so I might as well just buy it. Right, brilliant. Okay, boot it up. Make sure I've got my Control save ready to go.
From the cloud, for example, from PS Plus.
Ooh, I can see that next obstacle in the distance.
What could go wrong?
Okay, boot it up. Oh, that's very quick. It's so quick. The PS5 is so quick. You don't even get the animations for all the publishing and developer companies. They just flash up on the screen really quickly and then they go. It's just like, and it's like, oh, new game. No, continue. That's a bit weird, isn't it? Because I've got Control. Anyway, do a bit of searching on Reddit later. It turns out the base game of Control, the save file, isn't compatible with the Ultimate Edition. However, if you boot up the PS4 Ultimate Edition and open your save up in there, because that is compatible with the original base game of Control, that will convert it to the Ultimate Edition, which then is compatible with the PS5 Ultimate Edition. However, it turns out on downloading the PS4 version of Control, because PS5 is great, you can download both versions and split between the two. It turns out that, and I don't know whether this is just me making a mistake or is actually true, PS4 owners didn't actually get Control Ultimate Edition. What they actually got was Control, the base game, plus both bits of DLC. So when I downloaded it for the PS4, it was just like, oh, it's still the base game, but both bits of DLC are in there, so it doesn't need to convert the save. So it still didn't work.
So which of the 6 versions of Control did you end up with?
So then last night, me and Pete had a phone call about half 10 at night,
right,
trying to figure out the logistics of how, because Pete has got the Control Ultimate Edition, of how it would work if he could log me in on his PS4, download my saves, play them on his Ultimate Edition, then re-upload those saves, and I'd be able to get back my progress.
I will give some context to this. I was halfway through. I was 2 beers in and halfway through Star Trek 4 when this happened.
So this is serious.
Yeah, so some serious business. So I was like, we need to have a call about this, Sam, because I was like, this is so, like, I just want to see how far down the rabbit hole this absolute screw up goes.
This is incredible. So hang on, did it work?
We haven't done it yet.
Well, we don't know yet, because I did some further research and it turns out that the Control Ultimate Edition comes with basically tons and tons of great accessibility options. So essentially you can play it with one-shot kill and immortality on.
Okay.
Because that was the thing that was putting me off, because like I booted up Control base game from where I finished it and I was like, I do not remember how to play this game at all.
Right.
So part of me was like, I'm going to have to replay some of it anyway to work out how to play it again. But I don't want to, it's going to take another 14 hours and I don't really want to do that. So at least this means that I can play the game, experience the story again, and breeze through all the combat, basically. And it means also I can play it at 30 frames per second and have all the ray tracing and all that kind of stuff on, because
it is a beautiful game.
Yeah, I won't be as fussed during combat that it's a bit sluggish because it's not running at 60. So I text Pete this, probably about midnight last night, saying, don't worry, I'm just going to play the game again, put on these accessibility settings, and I'll just breeze through it, and I'll have a fun time. Win-win. Pete texts back saying, yeah, but if you still want to do it, just let me know.
I was hooked.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, I knew it. You were as intrigued with me just to see if like it would actually work. Like, we
it really is a you can swallow the blue pill and this all goes away, or you can swallow the red one and see how far this absolute screw up goes. I mean, this is technically a rare triple dip. Because you bought the original, you got the PS Plus version in which they get paid for, and you bought it again.
Yes. Worth it though. It's a good game.
Absolutely superb. I mean, I've just, as of a couple of weeks ago, I just finished it, and because I really bounced off of it over the first couple of hours, really bounced off of it, and having talked with a few people now, it's certainly not a thing that lots of people have, but a couple of people I know really bounced off it after the first couple of hours because there's a boss fight which is in like a mail room or something like that, and it's rubbish. Like it's a rubbish boss fight, and it's also just really hard, and you're not in you don't really know how to play the game well enough. I think by that point it's a bit of a confusing confusing space. There's a lot of language that's used that is very. They use language that is deliberately confusing, and it's not sure if that confusing language refers to a pickup or an object that is mechanically important, or if it's kind of just world building. So there's a concept of an object of power in the game, or an oops, as one of the characters refers it to. But but by this point you've had tons of kind of Lynch-esque, storytelling and like weird kind of stuff, and you think, is any of this real? Like, should I care what an oops is? Like, and that boss fight I think comes at the worst possible point. But two major factors happened. One, it came out on PS Plus, and I got angry because I'd already purchased basically the game itself.
I seem to remember us having a conversation about buying it not too long before it came out on PlayStation Plus, I think, because I was really tempted by it because I've not played it. I did buy it on PlayStation Plus, so I'm looking forward to hopefully playing it kind of problem free. But I know you guys kind of have all played it and all kind of really enjoyed it. But I remember us having this conversation and me deciding you know what, I'm not going to take that plunge. I haven't got time to play games at the moment. I know it's a good deal, but I haven't got time. And then I don't know, a month later it comes up for free. I'm like, win.
It was actually a Christmas gift. That was the other part of it. It was from Alex as well. And basically I was just like, well, look, I'm gonna play this game now. Damn it. And I liked Alan Wake. So I was like, I liked that game. Why don't I like this one? I was like, and so basically part of me when I don't like games is I tend to go back to it for a little bit more and just go and see and think about it really critically about why I don't like it, what I think it does wrong. And basically to get past that boss fight, which I died 8 times on. I mean, I'm not the best at games, but I thought it was a bit much. I basically read a FAQ and they were like, yeah, just stand behind this bit and then they can't hit you and that's it. And you just keep shooting. And I was like, oh. So then
I think I did that.
Then after that, it became, and this is not hyperbole, I think it's basically the best AAA game of the last 10 years. Without a shadow of a doubt for me. It is the game that I feel like AAA games that want to tell stories, Control has set the bar now. That's where the bar is. It is so... It's got elements of all of my favorite games, like Alan Wake, Silent Hill. It's visually super evocative. Weirdly, it reminded me of jazz punk in some ways, that kind of really,
definitely
aggressively colourful.
Kentucky Route Zero as well. Genuinely.
Yeah.
I think if you love that, you will love Kentucky Route Zero. It's basically almost to some degree it's like Kentucky Route Zero with shooting. Essentially.
Right. And the writing in it reminded me of, at times, of that, not the quality of, but the uncanny nature of Deadly Premonition.
Yeah.
Some of that
definitely.
writing is this is just the way you speak is weird. There was the use of non-American languages, basically non-American characters, I should say. So there are some characters who are basically not from the States, and the way that they are portrayed is really interesting. I thought that the actual literally the writing itself, literally seeing text on screen from again, I don't want to go too much into it, but from a one set of characters whereby they basically give you options as to what they're talking to you about. They basically, in the text, provide you it might be this or it might be that, and it's up to you to decide how you interpret the word. Almost as if you're translating it, and like Google Translate is saying like, well, it could mean employee or it could mean friend. And you kind of have to figure out what it is that's being meant there. The combat is stupendous. Those guns feel like there's something very, very, very talented about getting a gun to feel impactful when guns are basically like one of the most, regularly seen objects in video games, right? To have a gun that makes you go, oh God, this is a weapon. Like this is a real, like I'm causing some serious damage here. That was great. The sound design's amazing. And it's risky. That's the main thing that I like about it. They took such a massive risk with this game, like on every level. Like admittedly, it's a third-person action adventure, in the style of Arkham Asylum, in that it's kind of a Metroidvania in some ways. But like it is an incredibly risky game from a sort of presentational perspective.
It's great to have seen the studio like Remedy more than any other studio, I think from Max Payne to Alan Wake to Quantum Break and then this. First of all, have a lineage that is so memorable.
Yeah.
Second of all, for each of those games to have taken some sort of massive risk, where it's like, the bullet time in Max Payne, the noir setting, it's the sort of the approach to survival horror in Alan Wake, the half TV show, half game that was Quantum Break, and now this. Putting
your studio's director's face in every single game, like
bloody hell. And what struck me when I played Control was that the over-abiding feeling that this is what they've been reaching for all along.
Yeah.
And whether it's an intention or not, it feels great playing something where you feel like the people creating it have always had this as their ambition. Not necessarily Control itself, but in terms of those factors that you said, in terms of gameplay marrying with narrative, the actual story itself, how it's designed, directed, and how it feels to play. All of those things coming together.
And equally so, like it's incredible to see a studio that is clearly having so much fun because they have mastered it. They are master craftspeople at this point, and like when you play Control, you in every single element of it just oozes I care. And there are so many games where you're just like, they cut a corner here, and I get why, but every once in a while you'll just be like, well, that wasn't as good as it could have possibly been. But with Control, except for that boss fight, I think basically you can just see how passionate they were.
One thing I'd like to ask is, my wife doesn't play video games really. Holly doesn't play video games, really, just not interested. What she is interested in at times is playing games with me, and that doesn't mean kind of cooperatively. She doesn't have a controller, but she likes games with a strong narrative where she can feel like she's part of it. She can help instruct me. So the perfect games for that have been like the Quantic Dream games, like the Heavy Rain is one of her favorite games because although I'm playing it, she can have all the input. All those questions, those kind of responses you have to choose, she can do that. Same with the sequel, Beyond Two Souls. We played that together. We started playing Detroit, but kind of life got in the way and we haven't gone back to it at the moment, but I think we will. And so I'm trying to, she actually said to me, I think it was yesterday, like, we should play another game. What's the next game we're going to play? Like these. And I said, well, we got Detroit, but also there's this game I'm hearing about, Control, that might be something that we're interested in. Because I think way back in the day, we played Alan Wake together. And that was, we played that one just in the same way. So would a game like Control fit that bill?
I think I think two things. One, a lot of it is about figuring out the essentially like the lore, right? Like it's like a lot of it is finding information, watching these videos, trying to understand what's happening. There's a lot of humor in there, and also a lot of the uncanny, which is a really interesting mix. And because it's so visually stylish, I think there's a lot to be very impressed with. Just as a person who's watching it, the one thing I would say is within the first 15 minutes, you will know whether or not she's interested, because in the first 15 minutes, the game is like, this is what we're about. And if you're not on board, you're not on board.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very strong start.
To continue the theme of something we talked about in the last podcast, where Pete, you weren't here. I don't know if you've listened, but
I have.
We drafted in another Pete.
Yep. I think they did a better job than me, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, kind of.
They didn't really get the voice, but next time.
Yeah.
We spoke a bit about the game from WizKids called Seastead, and I think it's a bit of a shift in the industry at the moment in terms of board games, of trying to provide like big experiences in inverted commas, but in a lot smaller boxes. It seems now that publishers and designers are a lot more conscious about still providing those grand big experiences, but in a lot smaller boxes, and a lot smaller, like being a lot more respectful for things like space and components and manufacturing and all this kind of stuff. And it's been great to see that sort of ethos being pushed into a game called Red Cathedral. And we were kindly sent this by Cosmos and Devere, and when they got in touch with me, they were like, oh, would you be interested in this? And I was like, and the first thing I said was, anything that says it's like a big, like 1.5 hour, 2 hour experience in a box that size, yes, we're interested. Like, that is in my wheelhouse. Something that just fits nicely on the shelf, but provides a sort of expansive and grand experience. And this is a game which is all about building St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow. And even if you don't recognize that by name, you'll definitely recognize it by what it looks like. It's the one that looks like it's got like little ice cream swirls on the top of it.
Yep. I love the way that
Mr. Whippy was the architect.
Yeah, you've somewhat undercut the importance of said building.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's,
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know that in London where there's that really big clock? You know what I mean?
It's like a
big clock, isn't it, really?
It's like a typical cathedral, but they've just like some giant ice gems on the top.
Yeah.
So this is a game all about building that cathedral, which is already kind of like a really mind-blowing concept. Like I just love that as a theme. Like, it's not just any sort of box standard building, it is St. Basil's Cathedral, and each player has been tasked by the Tsar to undergo some sort of construction of the towers and the ice gems on the top and the windows and the doors and all that kind of stuff. And this is a game designed by Sheila Santos and Israel Candrero, who together are known as Llama Dice. And it's genuinely might be the best game that I've played this year. And me and Kris played it after one morning, after us four had been playing Minecraft Heroes all day. We set it up before we went to bed, and then we woke up and we played it. And I was kind of dreading the thought of playing quite a substantial and involved and deep board game experience first thing in the morning and after such a sort of involved day before. But it was so refreshing and interesting that we kind of just breezed through it in like an hour and a half, and it just really like zipped by. I think one of the ways it does that is it's the mechanics of it, a bit like Seastead, remain quite simple. Like you can only do 3 things on your turn, and thematically they all make sense. Like, you build scaffolding on the cathedral, which allows you to actually create parts of it. You go and pick resources and gather the resources you need to build the parts of the cathedral where your scaffolding has been placed. And the third action you do is you actually take those resources to the cathedral itself. And that's it. Where the time and the effort kind of comes into it on the player is all the considerations and the implications of just doing those 3 simple actions. And yeah, I really loved it, because you not only got this little workshop thing in front of you not only got this little like rondel which has this exceptionally good artwork which depicts like these 4 seasons in Russia and really feels like of the age. Like the artwork is very sort of like the Hans Christian Andersen sort of like Germanic sort of style, which would be like my kind of touchstone and reference to it. But also you've got the actual cathedral itself. So before the game starts, you rifle through this deck of cards, you pick the amount of players that are playing the game, and then you basically draw a cathedral design at random, and that will tell you how many towers there are, how many blocks are in each tower, and how many ice gems go on top of each block. So you're actually sitting there with the cathedral in front of you, and it's all flipped onto one side, so it all looks like sort of half built and like dulled out and grey. And slowly as the game goes on and as you're all like contributing to the cathedral and building bits and bits, suddenly you flip over the cards and it starts to like come to life with colour, and what was once grey becomes like these wonderful bits of brick and these wonderful like emerald stained windows and these quite colourful cornices on top of the towers. And yeah, I've not been drawn into a game this quickly in a long time.
I genuinely really like this, Sam. I was thinking about this today. I've seen some reviews where they said that actually the only criticism they had of it was they had lots of bouts of analysis paralysis, which I was trying to think back whether we had that, and I don't think we did. Admittedly, we were playing it on the kind of the base side. There is an advanced side if you flip your player board over, which I love already, because already there's a possibility of developing our game plan. This is probably my first time ever playing a rondel, which is this kind of wheel in the center. And there are 2 reasons I like that. One, because there are dice that move around, and being able to plan the movement of the dice as they're kind of going around this wheel that's turning is really satisfying, because it means then that the engine that this game is working with, this rondel, you're synchronizing with it. And second, it gives the game a sense of momentum, because the wheel is only spinning in one direction. And the sense that, even with that sense of analysis paralysis, the world just keeps on spinning. And this idea of us together, even though we're competing with each other, we're still working on one project together. And you get a little bit of that sometimes in games of Carcassonne, where there is that person, they've got that settlement, they need that one piece that will complete it. And sometimes I have genuinely played games, and I don't know if this is me, that I'm not overly competitive, where I will just finish someone's settlement, not because I want them to get the points, but because it's something satisfying to see. Seeing an empty, ugly, empty space in a Carcassonne map is horrible. And there were times when we were playing where I just wanted to see what this cathedral looked like. I didn't really necessarily care. And it's got this really lovely mechanic where, and there'd be times where I would be a bit mean to you, where I would build a story above Sam. And basically what I'm doing is I'm showing him up to the Tsar. And Sam wouldn't get really cross with me. He was just like, oh. And it was almost like he was looking at me like, my manager's going to be really miffed with me now. You've done that to me. And it does sound like it could be quite mechanical, because there's lots of moving parts in this, but I lent into that theme really quickly, and I have really no affinity with what it is to be a Mason, particularly in Russia. But it stopped me feeling too overly personally invested in it and caring too much that if I didn't get what I needed. This idea that you and I were collectively building this cathedral together was really lovely on my little table in the morning. Yeah. Who would have thought a game like this would have become a breakfast game? On the face of it, I would never have called it that, ever.
Mm-hmm. It might be. And all along the game, a kind of a bit like with the PlayStation 5, I think what it does, which is actually its genius, is it kind of builds this ecosystem And it's always, and everything that it's doing is always trying to keep you within that ecosystem at all times and making you feel like you're a builder. You're being punished because you're not being quick enough. You need to get scaffolding down to commit yourself to build certain things. You need to manipulate the rondel in order to get the resources that you want. There is an ecosystem which is always propelling you through, always keeping you going.
I think it's interesting, Kris, you mentioning it being like a breakfast game, because I think breakfast games we've discussed at length in the past. And I think one of the things about breakfast games is it's kind of often they're quite simple games, quite easy to pick up. And from me, I've not played Red Cathedral, but from looking at kind of images of it, I think coming into it, it's probably easy to look at it as quite overwhelming. There's lots of little pieces. There's lots of kind of, it looks quite complex. And obviously I'm not saying it is a complex game, but kind of that first impression coming in doesn't look as though it would fit into that kind of realm of a breakfast game. So what is it about it that kind of bucks that trend of kind of the typical requirements for a breakfast game, and why does this one kind of meet that?
I mean, like, yeah, maybe I was a bit too rash in saying that. Maybe it was because we.
No. I think it could be. I think for me, the requirements of a breakfast game is something that doesn't take up a lot of table space. Oops, but something that doesn't require you to hold anything in the hands. The complexity was never much of an issue with me. It just tends to be more complex games take up a lot more room on the table. I think even though Red Cathedral is complex, I think one of the reasons why it makes such a nice gentle breakfast game, and maybe we should add this in as one of the criteria, is it's got to be quite a gentle and peaceful experience.
We need to write down all these genres. We really do. We need to get a book. We need to put them in a book. There's so many of them. So many rules.
When you're thinking about stuff to do, it's very clear, both mechanically and thematically, what you have to do. So even though there's complexities within the rules, you know that you've got to start building the cathedral. So you know you've got to start putting scaffolding in, because you can't build without scaffolding. And then once the scaffolding's in, you know you've got to go and get resources. And then once you've got resources, you know you've got to deliver them to the cathedral. So it makes for a very, very gentle experience, because the first few turns, everyone's doing the same thing, because you're building a cathedral. There's no like, oh, well, I'm the saboteur and I'm not going to build a cathedral. I'm going to gather 50 wood and then that's my winning condition. It's like everyone's working to the same goal and the same cohesive and collaborative goal. So it does make for a very, gentle and collaborative experience, which for me is, one thing that I love at breakfast is like having lots of people and collaborating on, we've got 15 croissants, let's eat them all
together. I mean, and it's also that saying it because we were both hungover after our online get together, the four of us, the day before. Yeah. So the fact that we were able to kind of play through that headache is saying something, really.
Well, as a kid, I was always under the impression that if I got a fountain pen, that I'd immediately be able to write like posh people do when they write with fountain pens. But the thing is, I
like calligraphy,
like calligraphy and stuff. But I always get really impatient with whenever I'm handwriting. Like I'll always like the first few bits will also be really, really nice, and then I basically just start getting really lazy.
Yeah.
And also I hold my pen really weird, and I was always as a kid I used to be forced to go to like special classes where they give you one of those pencils that had the little triangle.
Yeah, I had that too. Yeah,
to try and force you to like hold a pen proper.
Yeah, right. That was one of the things I never understood. It was like all these teachers were like, well, if you don't hold a pen properly, it's like, what will be the ramification? I can write, like, it's not.
Right, so who shall we give the promotion to?
Yeah, well, Peter has been doing excellent work with the budgets recently and has made us a lot of money, but he does hold his pen a bit strange.
If you could just sign this document for us, Peter. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, and just sign here for the new job. What? What is this?
Snatch it away.
Well, that was lovely, wasn't it? And that was another episode of the Staying In podcast. I was there, Sam Turner. Chris Darby, he was there. Daniel Frost, he was also there. And returning once again, Peter Willington. Oh, how we've missed him. Thanks very much for enjoying this show, hopefully, or at least listening right to the end. If you have enjoyed it, then please share this with someone whom you love or admire, or at least respect on some sort of level. A colleague, a friend, a member of your family. Share this podcast with them. Hopefully they will enjoy it too. You can leave us reviews. You can follow us on Spotify, your app of choice. It all helps us spread the podcast around a little bit. If you'd like to share your memories of fountain pens and being forced to write in a particular way, then please do get in touch with us. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram at StayingInPod. We are also available through email, stayinginpod@gmail.com. All that information, if you just missed it or just glazed over for a few seconds, are at stayinginpodcast.com. Just a note about our Instagram page. We are now doing things like unboxings and short videos about what we're currently playing. So if you like that kind of thing, then head over there where you'll be able to see most of the games that we're talking about. We're now doing some unboxings to give you a bit more information about what is inside that cardboard. I was trying to think of another word for box, but there is no other word for box. What's in that cardboard sarcophagus? Anyway, I'm going to keep that in because that's the kind of power I have. Thank you so much for enjoying the show. We really do appreciate it. We wish you all the best. Continue to take care wherever you are, following all the guidance and procedures, and please do just enjoy some time to yourself and with the others around you that you love. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.